My work ethic was always my pride, a badge of honor earned through countless late nights and early mornings. That Thursday seemed like any other, just another day at the office until a sudden power outage forced me to leave early. I thought little of it at the time, just a minor inconvenience in my otherwise predictable routine. Little did I know fate had other plans. The drive home was uneventful, the familiar streets passing by in a blur. As I turned onto our block, a strange sense of unease washed over me. There was an unfamiliar car parked a few houses down, a sleek black sedan that I didn't recognize. My mind dismissed it quickly. After all, our neighborhood often had visitors. But as I pulled into the driveway and saw the curtains drawn in our bedroom, my instinct screamed that something was wrong. Quietly, I entered the house, trying not to make a sound. The hallway seemed longer than usual, each step echoing in my ears like a drumbeat. Then I heard it, muffled voices, one of them distinctly Jennifer's, mixed with laughter that didn't belong to me. My heart pounded in my chest as I approached the bedroom door, each beat like a hammer driving a nail into my soul. I pushed the door open, and the sight before me brought my world crashing down. There was Jennifer, my wife of 17 years, tangled in the sheets with another man. And not just any man. Mark, someone I had considered a friend, someone who had shared our home and meals. The betrayal was like a physical blow, knocking the breath out of me. "What the hell is this?" I bellowed, my voice a mix of anger and despair. Jennifer and Mark sprang apart, scrambling to cover themselves, their faces masks of shock and guilt. Jennifer's eyes widened and she stammered, trying to find words that wouldn't come. "Michael, she began, but I cut her off, my rage boiling over. "Save it, Jennifer! How long has this been going on?" My voice trembled with the effort to keep from breaking down. "A few months," she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. "I'm sorry, Michael. I didn't want to hurt you. I've been so unhappy." Unhappy. The word echoed in my mind, twisting the knife deeper. Years of trust, love, and memories shattered in an instant. I couldn't bear to look at her anymore. Turning on my heel, I left the room, the walls closing in around me. I spent the night on the couch, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. The pain of betrayal was a fire in my chest, but beneath it, something else was growing, a cold, calculated resolve. Jennifer had taken my trust and my love, and in return, she would get exactly what she deserved. That night marked the beginning of a new chapter in my life. I wasn't going to be the victim in this story. Jennifer, Mark, and anyone else involved in this betrayal would soon learn the true meaning of regret. They had underestimated me, and that was their biggest mistake. The morning after discovering Jennifer's betrayal felt surreal. The sun rose, as it always did, casting its golden rays through the blinds, but nothing seemed the same. The once cozy living room now felt like a prison, each piece of furniture a silent witness to my pain. I sat up on the couch, my body aching from a night of sleepless turmoil. I knew I had to confront Jennifer. I couldn't let this betrayal fester in silence. Taking a deep breath, I steeled myself and walked to the kitchen, where she was making coffee. She looked up as I entered, her eyes red and swollen from crying. "Michael, we need to talk," she began, her voice trembling. "No, Jennifer," I interrupted, my voice cold and steady. "You need to listen. How could you do this to us? To me? 17 years, Jennifer. 17 years of marriage, and you throw it all away for what? For him?" She opened her mouth to respond, but no words came out. The silence was deafening, filled with the weight of our shattered trust. I felt a flicker of pity for her, but it was quickly extinguished by the burning anger in my chest. "You said you were unhappy," I continued, my voice hardening. "But why? What did I do to deserve this? Did you even think about how this would affect me? Or were you too busy enjoying your little escapades with Mark?" Tears streamed down her face as she shook her head. "It wasn't like that, Michael. I felt so alone, so disconnected from you. And Mark, he was just there. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." "Sorry?" I scoffed. "Sorry doesn't fix this, Jennifer. Sorry doesn't erase the image of you in bed with him. Sorry doesn't bring back the trust you destroyed." She looked away, unable to meet my gaze. The silence stretched on, heavy and suffocating. Finally, she whispered, "I never meant to hurt you. I just didn't know how to reach out to you." I stared at her, feeling a strange mix of anger and sadness. "Well, you've certainly reached out now, and there's no going back. This marriage is over." Jennifer's sobs filled the room, but I felt no sympathy. My mind was already turning towards the next steps. I needed to act, to protect myself, and ensure that she and her lover paid for their betrayal. I left the kitchen, leaving Jennifer to her tears, and retreated to my home office. Sitting at my desk, I began to formulate a plan. I wouldn't rush into a divorce just yet. First, I needed evidence, solid, undeniable proof of her infidelity. I called a private investigator, someone I knew could discreetly gather the information I needed. The investigator, John, was a no-nonsense professional who assured me he would get to work immediately. Next, I set up hidden cameras in the house. It felt invasive, but I needed to know the full extent of Jennifer's betrayal. I had to see if there were others, if this was just the tip of the iceberg. I spent hours meticulously placing the cameras, ensuring they were well hidden but effective. Days turned into weeks, each one more painful than the last. I watched the footage and saw Jennifer meet Mark in our home, in the bed we once shared. It was like a dagger to the heart each time, but it only fueled my resolve. This wasn't just about Mark. There were others, Brian, David, and a few other acquaintances I had once trusted. The evidence piled up, each piece a testament to Jennifer's deceit. John's reports were thorough, detailing her every move. I knew it was time to take the next step. I planned a gathering, a small get-together with friends and family. It was the perfect opportunity for a public confrontation, a moment where Jennifer's actions would be laid bare for all to see. I wanted everyone to know the truth, to see her for who she was. The day of the gathering arrived, and I felt a strange calmness settle over me. I was ready. Jennifer's betrayal had torn me apart, but it had also given me a new sense of purpose. She would regret ever crossing me, and so would her lovers. As guests arrived, I played the part of the gracious host, all the while waiting for the perfect moment to reveal my hand. I watched Jennifer, who seemed uneasy but unaware of what was about to happen. I waited until everyone was settled, glasses in hand, before stepping forward. "Thank you all for coming," I began, my voice steady and clear. "I have something important to share with you all. It's about Jennifer and her extracurricular activities." Gasps and murmurs filled the room as I pulled out the evidence, photos, videos, and John's reports. I laid everything out, sparing no detail. Jennifer's face turned ashen, her eyes wide with horror as her secrets were exposed. The room erupted in chaos, friends and family shocked, Jennifer sobbing, and the realization sinking in for Mark, Brian, and David that their lives were about to be turned upside down. I stood there, watching the scene unfold, a sense of grim satisfaction washing over me. This was just the beginning. Jennifer and her lovers had made a grave mistake by underestimating me. They had taken my trust and my love, and now it was my turn to take something from them. This was the start of their reckoning, and I was far from finished. The fallout from the public confrontation was immediate and brutal. Jennifer's once close circle of friends quickly dissolved, the trust she had betrayed leaving an indelible stain on her reputation. Mark, Brian, and David found themselves shunned and whispered about, their actions coming to light in the harshest way possible. The revelation had set off a chain reaction, and I was just getting started. In the days following the gathering, I moved forward with the next phase of my plan. I reached out to a top-tier divorce attorney, someone known for being ruthless and efficient. The initial consultation was a whirlwind of paperwork and strategy sessions, but I left feeling more confident than ever. Jennifer would not walk away from this unscathed. Jennifer's attempts to communicate with me were met with silence. I had no interest in hearing her excuses or pleas for forgiveness. She had made her choices, and now she would face the consequences. The house once filled with warmth and laughter, now echoed with the cold silence of our broken marriage. As the divorce proceedings began, I focused on gathering every piece of leverage I could: financial records, correspondence, and anything that would ensure I came out on top. Jennifer had always been careless with her digital footprint, and it didn't take long to uncover a trove of incriminating evidence. Bank statements showing extravagant gifts to her lovers, emails detailing rendezvous, and social media messages that painted a vivid picture of her infidelity. Meanwhile, I kept in close contact with John, the private investigator. His surveillance continued to provide valuable information, not just about Jennifer, but about her network of deceit. It turned out Mark wasn't the only one benefiting from her betrayal. Brian and David had also received their share of perks. and I intended to expose every single one of them. I knew that to truly make an impact, I needed to hit them where it hurt, socially and professionally. Jennifer's job was my first target. Armed with the evidence I had gathered, I reached out to her employer anonymously. The company had strict policies regarding personal conduct, and the revelation of her affairs led to an immediate investigation. Within days, Jennifer was called into a meeting and subsequently terminated. The look on her face when she returned home, defeated and humiliated, was a small victory in my larger campaign. Next, I turned my attention to her lovers. Mark, Brian, and David were all prominent figures in their respective fields, and I intended to ensure their downfall. I leaked the evidence of their involvement with Jennifer to their employers and social circles. The scandal spread like wildfire, leading to job losses, strained marriages, and public disgrace. They had reveled in their deceit, never imagining it would come back to haunt them so spectacularly. With each victory, I felt a sense of justice being served. They had underestimated me, seeing only the devoted husband and not the man capable of orchestrating their ruin. Their regrets grew with each passing day, but it was far too late for remorse. One evening, as I sat in my now empty living room, the weight of the past week's events settled over me. The house, stripped of Jennifer's presence, felt different. The pain of betrayal was still there, but it was accompanied by a sense of closure. I had taken control of my life, transforming my heartbreak into a weapon against those who wronged me. But my journey wasn't over. The legal battles continued, each court date a reminder of the life I was leaving behind. The divorce attorney worked tirelessly, ensuring that Jennifer's deceit was fully documented and leveraged to my advantage. The settlement discussions were brutal, but I stood firm, demanding what was rightfully mine. Jennifer's once comfortable life unraveled before her eyes. The financial strain, coupled with the public humiliation, left her a shadow of the woman she once was. She tried to reach out to me, to make amends, but I remained distant. My heart had hardened, and there was no room for reconciliation. Amid the chaos, I found moments of clarity. I began to rebuild my life, focusing on my career and reconnecting with friends who had stood by me. The betrayal had been a crucible, forging a new, stronger version of myself. I was determined to rise from the ashes, leaving behind the wreckage of my past. The storm that Jennifer and her lovers had unleashed was far from over. I had more plans, more ways to ensure they would never forget the consequences of their actions. But for now, I allowed myself a moment of respite. The journey was long, and I needed to gather my strength for the battles yet to come. As I looked out the window into the night, I felt a strange sense of peace. The darkness that had once consumed me was now a source of strength. Jennifer had underestimated me, and in doing so, she had set me on a path of vengeance and redemption. The storm was just beginning, and I was ready to face whatever came next. The days turned into weeks, and the fallout from the scandal continued to spread like wildfire. My focus remained unwavering. I was determined to ensure that Jennifer and her lovers felt the full weight of their actions. The divorce proceedings were moving forward, and my attorney was relentless, leaving no stone unturned in our pursuit of justice. Jennifer's social standing had been utterly decimated. Once the darling of our community, she now found herself the subject of whispers and judgmental glances. Her friends had abandoned her, unwilling to be associated with the scandal that had engulfed her life. Even our children, Brian and Emily, struggled to understand the changes in our family dynamic. I did my best to shield them from the worst of it, but the cracks were impossible to hide. Mark, Brian, and David were facing their hells. Mark had lost his job and his marriage. His wife had left him, taking their 2 children with her. Brian's involvement had caused a rift in his marriage as well, with his wife struggling to come to terms with his betrayal. David, the most arrogant of them all, found his professional reputation in tatters, his colleagues and clients abandoning him in droves. I found a grim satisfaction in their suffering. It was only fair, after all. They had reveled in their deceit, never imagining the consequences that awaited them. But this was only the beginning. I had more plans, more ways to ensure their regret would be etched into their lives forever. One of the first steps in my strategy was to secure my financial future. Jennifer had always been careless with money, and her infidelity had extended to her spending habits. Lavish gifts, expensive dinners, and weekend getaways had all been funded by our joint accounts. My attorney and I worked tirelessly to track every transaction, building a case that would ensure a favorable settlement. We presented our findings to the court, highlighting Jennifer's reckless spending and betrayal. The judge was not sympathetic to her plight. The evidence was overwhelming, and it became clear that she had not only betrayed our marriage, but had also jeopardized our financial stability. The court ruled in my favor, granting me a significant portion of our assets and ensuring that Jennifer would be left to fend for herself. With the financial aspect secured, I turned my attention to a more personal form of retribution. Jennifer's betrayal had extended beyond just Mark, Brian, and David. There were others, acquaintances and colleagues who had indulged in her deceit. I compiled a list, determined to expose every single one of them. One by one, I reached out to their spouses and employers, sharing the evidence I had gathered. The fallout was swift and brutal. Marriages crumbled, friendships dissolved, and professional reputations were irreparably damaged. The web of deceit that Jennifer had spun was unraveling, and I was the architect of its destruction. Jennifer, meanwhile, was struggling to keep her life together. The loss of her job had hit her hard, and the financial strain was taking its toll. She had moved into a small apartment, a far cry from the comfortable home we had once shared. Our children visited her, but the tension was palpable. They were old enough to understand that something had gone wrong, but too young to fully grasp the complexity of the situation. Despite everything, Jennifer tried to reach out to me. She left voicemails and sent messages, begging for a chance to talk, to explain. But I wasn't interested in her explanations. She had made her choices, and now she had to live with the consequences. The pain she had caused was too deep, the trust too thoroughly shattered. My focus remained on rebuilding my life. I threw myself into my work, finding solace in the routine and the sense of accomplishment it brought. I reconnected with friends who had stood by me, their support a lifeline in the turbulent sea of my emotions. Slowly, I began to heal, the raw edges of my pain softening with time. But my resolve never wavered. Jennifer and her lovers had taken so much from me, and I intended to take it all back and more. They had underestimated me, seeing only the devoted husband, not the man capable of orchestrating their downfall. Their regret was palpable, but it was far too late for remorse. The next step in my plan was to ensure that Jennifer would never be able to rebuild her life on the ruins of our marriage. I reached out to local media, sharing my story anonymously. The scandal that ensued was a final, crushing blow. Jennifer's name became synonymous with betrayal and deceit, her reputation tarnished beyond repair. As I stood in the ruins of what was once my life, I felt a strange sense of closure. The journey had been long and painful, but I had emerged stronger. Jennifer, Mark, Brian, and David had learned a harsh lesson. Betrayal comes at a high cost, and they would pay it in full. The storm was beginning to calm, the wreckage settling around me. I looked to the future with a renewed sense of purpose, ready to rebuild on the ashes of my past. The betrayal had forged a new me, one who would never again be taken for granted. And as I took the first steps into my new life, I knew that I was finally free. In the wake of the revelations, my life became a whirlwind of activity and determination. Each day was a step forward, a move in the chess game that was my plan for ultimate retribution. I had seen the immediate fallout from Jennifer's infidelity, but now it was time to dismantle the broader network of deceit that had thrived around her. I began with Mark. Having lost his job and his marriage, he was already on the ropes, but I wanted to ensure there was no chance for him to bounce back easily. I reached out to mutual acquaintances, subtly planting seeds of distrust and sharing carefully curated pieces of evidence that painted Mark in the worst possible light. His once solid reputation was reduced to tatters, and any support he might have had quickly evaporated. Brian and David were next. Their involvement had not only betrayed me, but also their own families and colleagues. I gathered every scrap of evidence of their illicit affairs with Jennifer and any other indiscretions I could find. Armed with this, I approached their employers, framing it as a moral obligation to inform them of the character of the people they employed. Brian's employer, a conservative firm with strict ethical standards, acted swiftly. He was called into a meeting, confronted with the evidence, and promptly dismissed. His marriage, already strained, shattered completely. His wife, unable to cope with the betrayal, filed for divorce and moved out with their children. David faced a similar fate. His company, though more lenient, could not ignore the mounting pressure from within and from clients who had gotten wind of the scandal. His dismissal was less abrupt, but it was clear he had no future there. His wife, unlike Brian's, decided to stay, but their relationship was a shadow of what it once was, marred by distrust and resentment. With the primary players in Jennifer's web of deceit dealt with, I turned my attention to the others. The list was long: acquaintances, colleagues, and even a few friends who had participated in or turned a blind eye to her actions. Each one would face their reckoning. I started with the acquaintances. Using the same tactics I had honed with Mark, Brian, and David, I systematically dismantled their social and professional lives. I reached out to their circles, shared evidence anonymously, and watched as their lives unraveled. The ripple effect was astonishing. Friendships crumbled, marriages faltered, and careers were derailed. The network of deceit that had supported Jennifer found itself under siege from within. Jennifer herself was a different story. The relentless pressure had taken its toll. She had lost her job, her friends, and her social standing. The financial strain was immense, and she struggled to maintain any semblance of normalcy for our children. I ensured that every move she made was met with resistance. She tried to find new employment, but I had connections and made sure her reputation preceded her. Our children, Brian and Emily, were my primary concern. They were innocent victims in this mess, and I did my best to shield them from the worst of it. I sought the help of a therapist, someone who could guide them through the confusion and pain of our fractured family. They stayed with me most of the time, their presence a reminder of the life I was fighting to rebuild. Despite everything, Jennifer tried to reach out to me. She sent letters, left voicemails, and even showed up at my office once. Each time, I ignored her. I had no interest in her apologies or explanations. My focus was on moving forward, on ensuring that she understood the gravity of her actions. One evening, as I was going through some documents in my home office, I received a call from John, the private investigator. He had more information, details about Jennifer's other affairs, and the extent of her deceit. It turned out she had been involved with several more individuals, some of whom were quite influential. This new information was a goldmine, providing further leverage to ensure she would never escape the shadow of her actions. Armed with this new intel, I intensified my efforts. I contacted the spouses of these new individuals, shared the evidence, and watched as more marriages crumbled. The influential individuals found themselves embroiled in scandal, their public images tarnished beyond repair. The web of deceit was unraveling, and I was at the center, pulling the strings. Through it all, I maintained a facade of normalcy. At work, I was a dedicated professional, focused and driven. At home, I was a loving father, caring for my children and providing them with stability. But beneath the surface, the fire of vengeance burned brightly. The journey had been long and arduous, but with each victory, I felt a sense of closure. Jennifer's betrayal had set off a chain reaction, and I had ensured that everyone involved felt the full weight of their actions. They had underestimated me, seeing only the devoted husband, not the man capable of orchestrating their downfall. As I looked back on the events that had transpired, I realized that I had transformed. The pain of betrayal had forged a new strength within me, a determination to never be taken for granted again. The network of deceit had been dismantled, and I stood victorious amidst the wreckage. But the journey was not over. There were still battles to be fought and challenges to be faced. Jennifer and her lovers had learned a harsh lesson, but the world was full of new opportunities and new beginnings. As I prepared to take the next steps in my life, I knew that I was ready for whatever came next. The storm had passed, and I stood stronger, wiser, and ready to face the future. The legal proceedings were a battlefield. My attorney, Michael Donovan, was a relentless force, leaving no avenue unexplored. Every meeting with him fortified my resolve. Each document and piece of evidence was meticulously prepared to ensure that Jennifer would face the full consequences of her actions. Jennifer's attorney attempted to paint her as a remorseful woman who had made a mistake. They pushed for a fair settlement, arguing that despite her infidelity, she deserved a portion of our assets and financial support. But I was prepared. With John's extensive reports, including the new evidence of her numerous affairs, we presented an ironclad case that left little room for sympathy. In the courtroom, Jennifer looked like a shadow of her former self, haggard and worn down. She tried to avoid my gaze, But now and then, our eyes would meet, and I could see the regret and fear in hers. My heart, once tender and forgiving, had hardened to stone. This was about justice, about ensuring that she would never again find the comfort and security she had so callously thrown away. The judge, after reviewing the evidence, ruled heavily in my favor. Jennifer would receive a minimal settlement, enough to support herself, but far from the comfortable life she had known. The bulk of our assets were awarded to me, ensuring that our children would have a stable future and that I could rebuild without the shadow of financial ruin. With the legal battle nearly over, I turned my attention to a more personal vendetta. There were still individuals who had escaped the immediate fallout, and I intended to ensure that they too felt the sting of retribution. Among them was a man named Kevin, one of Jennifer's more influential lovers, who had managed to keep his involvement hidden. Kevin was a high-ranking executive at a major corporation, and his downfall would be a final, satisfying piece of my plan. Using the information John had gathered, I orchestrated a plan to expose Kevin. I leaked the evidence to key figures within his company, ensuring that it reached the right hands. The scandal broke swiftly. Headlines splashed across local and national news outlets. Kevin's pristine public image was shattered, and his career and personal life were left in ruins. He resigned in disgrace, and his family, unaware of his double life, was left to pick up the pieces. With Kevin's downfall, I felt a deep sense of accomplishment. The network of deceit was almost entirely dismantled. Jennifer and her lovers were living their hells, and I had ensured they would never forget the cost of their betrayal. Yet, amidst all this, I found myself grappling with an unexpected emotion: exhaustion. The relentless pursuit of vengeance had taken its toll. I had won, but at what cost? My children, Brian and Emily, were growing up in the shadow of this chaos, and I realized that it was time to focus on their well-being and my healing. One evening, as I sat in the living room with Brian and Emily, I looked at their faces, innocent, hopeful, and full of potential. They deserved a father who was present and engaged, not one consumed by the past. I decided that it was time to let go of the anger that had driven me for so long. I reached out to a therapist, someone who could help me navigate the complex emotions that still lingered. The sessions were difficult, forcing me to confront the pain and betrayal in a way I had avoided. But slowly, I began to heal. The therapist helped me see that while vengeance had provided a temporary sense of justice, it was not a path to true peace. Jennifer continued to try and make amends, sending letters and requesting meetings. I agreed to meet her once, not out of a desire for reconciliation but to find closure. We met at a small cafe, the atmosphere tense and filled with unspoken words. "Michael," she began, her voice trembling, "I know I've caused you so much pain. I can't change what I did, but I want to try to make things right, somehow." I looked at her, seeing the woman I had once loved and the stranger she had become. "Jennifer, the damage is done. You made your choices, and we both have to live with the consequences. But for the sake of our children, we need to find a way to coexist peacefully. They deserve that much." She nodded, tears in her eyes. "I understand. I'm so sorry for everything." I stood up, signaling the end of our meeting. "Take care of yourself, Jennifer. We'll figure this out for Brian and Emily." As I walked away, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. The path to healing would be long, but I was ready to take the first steps. Jennifer's betrayal had changed my life irrevocably, but it had also shown me the strength I never knew I possessed. The storm had passed, leaving behind a landscape of lessons learned and scars that would fade with time. I had faced the darkest parts of myself and emerged stronger. Now, it was time to focus on the future, to rebuild for myself and my children. The journey was far from over, but for the first time in a long while, I felt hopeful. The courtroom battles were behind me and the wreckage of my marriage was finally settling. With Jennifer and her network of deceitfully exposed and dealt with, I found myself standing at the precipice of a new chapter in my life. It was time to rebuild, not just physically but emotionally and spiritually as well. My primary focus was on Brian and Emily. They had endured so much, caught in the crossfire of adult mistakes and decisions. I dedicated myself to being the best father I could be, ensuring that their lives would have stability and love despite the upheaval. We spent weekends at the park, played board games, and had long talks about their dreams and aspirations. Slowly, the shadows of our past began to recede, replaced by the warmth of our new reality. The house, once a reminder of betrayal and pain, needed a transformation. I hired a contractor and began extensive renovations. Walls were repainted, new furniture was brought in, and the layout was changed to make it feel like a new home. It was therapeutic, each stroke of paint and every piece of new furniture symbolizing a step towards healing and renewal. Professionally, I threw myself into my work with renewed vigor. My career had always been a source of pride, and now it became a refuge, a place where I could focus my energy and rebuild my confidence. I took on new projects, mentored younger colleagues, and pushed myself to new heights. The respect and recognition I received from my peers were affirmations that I was moving in the right direction. Despite the positive changes, the process of healing was not without its challenges. There were nights when the memories of Jennifer's betrayal would haunt me, and moments when the weight of my decisions felt overwhelming. During these times, I turned to therapy, finding solace in the sessions that helped me process the complex emotions still lingering beneath the surface. My therapist, Dr. Thompson, was a calm and understanding presence. She guided me through the labyrinth of my thoughts, helping me untangle the anger, sadness, and regret that had taken root. Through her guidance, I learned to forgive myself for any perceived failures and to embrace the lessons learned from my experience. One day, as I was walking through a local park, I ran into an old friend, Karen. We had known each other in college, but had lost touch over the years. Karen was a breath of fresh air, vivacious, understanding, and most importantly, she knew nothing of the turmoil that had recently consumed my life. We started meeting for coffee and walks, reconnecting and sharing stories of our lives since college. Karen's presence was a reminder of the good that still existed in the world. She brought laughter back into my life, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a spark of genuine happiness. We took things slowly, both cautious and respectful of our pasts. Our relationship blossomed naturally, built on a foundation of mutual respect and understanding. Introducing Karen to Brian and Emily was a significant step. I was nervous, unsure of how they would react, but Karen handled it with grace. She was warm and engaging, taking the time to get to know them and making sure they felt comfortable. Over time, they grew to like her, and I could see the positive impact she had on their lives. As Karen and I grew closer, I found myself reflecting on the journey I had been through. The betrayal, the revenge, the heartbreak, it all seemed like a distant nightmare. I had emerged from the darkness stronger and more resilient. The pain had shaped me, but it did not define me. Jennifer, meanwhile, had faded into the background of my life. She continued to see the children, but our interactions were minimal and civil. She was a reminder of the past, but no longer a part of my present or future. I had made peace with what had happened, understanding that holding on to anger would only hinder my growth. One evening, as Karen and I sat on the porch watching the sunset, I realized how far I had come. The future, once shrouded in uncertainty, now appeared bright and full of promise. I had rebuilt my life from the ground up, forged new relationships, and rediscovered the joys of living. The journey was not over, but I was ready for whatever lay ahead. With my children by my side and Karen's support, I felt a renewed sense of purpose and optimism. The storm had passed, and the calm that followed was filled with endless possibilities. As I closed my eyes, listening to the sounds of the evening, I felt a profound sense of peace. The past had been tumultuous, but it had led me to this moment of clarity and contentment, and for that, I was grateful. With the chaos of the past firmly behind me, my life began to settle into a rhythm of normalcy and newfound happiness. My relationship with Karen flourished, bringing a lightness and joy I hadn't felt in years. Brian and Emily were thriving, their laughter echoing through the house, now a true home filled with love and stability. One morning, as I was getting ready for work, my phone buzzed with an email notification. It was from a company I had once admired but never dreamed of working for, an offer for a senior management position. They had seen my recent work and were impressed with my leadership and resilience through personal trials. The opportunity was too good to pass up, and after discussing it with Karen and the kids, I decided to leap. Starting a new job was exhilarating and challenging. The company was larger and more prestigious than my previous one, and the responsibilities were greater, but I thrived on the challenge. Pouring my energy into my work and quickly earning the respect of my new colleagues. The change of environment was refreshing, and I felt reinvigorated by the possibilities it presented. Meanwhile, my relationship with Karen deepened. We spent weekends exploring new places, indulging in spontaneous road trips, and discovering hidden gems in our city. Her support and love were unwavering, and I felt truly blessed to have her by my side. Our bond grew stronger, and we began talking about a future together, a future that included Brian and Emily. One evening, as we sat by the fireplace, Karen brought up a topic we had skirted around for some time. "Michael, have you ever thought about us all living together? I mean, you, me, Brian, and Emily under one roof?" Her question caught me by surprise, but it felt right. We had become a family in every sense but the official one. "Yes, Karen, I've thought about it a lot. I think it's time we take that step." The decision to move in together was met with excitement from Brian and Emily. They adored Karen, and the idea of us all being together felt natural to them. We found a beautiful house in a quiet neighborhood, a place where we could build new memories and start fresh. The move was seamless, and our new home quickly became a haven of happiness and security. Life seemed to be aligning perfectly, and just when I thought things couldn't get better, another unexpected opportunity presented itself. My new company was expanding into international markets and was looking for someone to head their new European division. It was a prestigious role with immense potential, but it required relocating to Amsterdam. The idea of uprooting my family was daunting, but Karen was immediately supportive. "Michael, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We can make this work. The kids are resilient, and it could be an incredible experience for all of us." We discussed it as a family, considering the pros and cons. Brian and Emily were excited about the adventure, and after much deliberation, we decided to go for it. The next few months were a whirlwind of preparation, selling the house, arranging schools for the kids, and dealing with the logistics of an international move. Arriving in Amsterdam was a surreal experience. The city's charm and vibrancy were captivating, and we quickly fell in love with our new surroundings. Our new home was spacious and welcoming, and the kids adapted to their new schools with remarkable ease. Karen and I explored the city together, savoring the cultural richness and the new opportunities it brought. My role at the company was demanding but fulfilling. Leading the European division was a challenge I embraced wholeheartedly. The team was talented and dedicated, and together we achieved remarkable success, establishing a strong foothold in the market. The recognition and accolades were gratifying, but the true reward was the sense of accomplishment and the knowledge that I had rebuilt my life from the ground up. Our life in Amsterdam was filled with new experiences and adventures. Weekends were spent exploring the countryside, visiting nearby countries, and immersing ourselves in the local culture. The kids thrived in their new environment, becoming more independent and confident. Karen found her niche, taking on projects that excited her and building a community of friends. One evening, as we sat on our balcony overlooking the canals, I looked at Karen and felt a deep sense of gratitude. I never imagined my life would take this turn. From the darkest days to this incredible journey, it's been a wild ride. Karen smiled, her eyes sparkling with affection. "Life has a way of surprising us, Michael, and I'm grateful for every moment, the highs and the lows, because they brought us here, together." As we toasted to our new beginnings, I realized how far I had come. The betrayal that once defined my existence was now a distant memory, a chapter that had led me to a better, more fulfilling life. I had faced the storm and emerged stronger, ready to embrace whatever the future held. The journey had been long and arduous, but it had brought me to a place of peace and happiness. With Karen by my side and my children thriving, I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would face them together. And that was the greatest victory of all. While our life in Amsterdam flourished, the echoes of the past occasionally resurfaced, reminding me of the path that had brought us here. The legal battle with Jennifer was over, and I had moved on, but there was one final piece of justice that still eluded me: ensuring that Jennifer and her lovers faced the full consequences of their actions in every aspect of their lives. One morning, as I was reviewing some documents in my office, my phone buzzed with a message from John, the private investigator. "Got something you might be interested in. Call me when you're free." My curiosity piqued, and I dialed his number immediately. "Michael, I've uncovered some new information," John said, his voice calm and professional. It seems Jennifer and her former lovers have been trying to rebuild their lives, but they've gotten involved in some shady dealings. This could be the leverage you need to bring them to full justice. John's report detailed how Jennifer, Mark, Brian, and David had attempted to start a business together, using funds they had acquired through questionable means. The business was already under investigation for financial misconduct, and the evidence John had gathered could tip the scales, ensuring they faced legal consequences. I felt a familiar surge of determination. This was the final chapter of my retribution, the moment to ensure that they could not escape the consequences of their actions. I shared the information with my attorney, who advised me to pass it on to the authorities. The investigation was swift and thorough. With the evidence provided by John, the authorities had a solid case against Jennifer and her accomplices. Charges of fraud and embezzlement were brought against them, and their attempts to rebuild their lives crumbled once more. The legal system moved forward, and I watched from afar as justice was finally served. Jennifer, Mark, Brian, and David faced not only legal repercussions, but also public disgrace. Their business was shut down, their assets seized, and they found themselves once again ostracized by the community. The finality of it all brought a sense of closure I hadn't realized I needed. With that chapter finally closed, I could focus entirely on my new life. Karen, Brian, Emily, and I continued to thrive in Amsterdam. Our family bond grew stronger, and we embraced the opportunities that life presented to us. The darkness of the past no longer cast a shadow over our future. One evening, as we gathered for dinner, Karen proposed an idea. "Michael, how would you feel about starting a foundation, something to help others who've gone through similar experiences? We could offer support, legal advice, and resources to rebuild their lives." Her suggestion resonated deeply with me. I had been fortunate to have the means and support to fight back and rebuild, but not everyone was as lucky. Creating a foundation to help others navigate the aftermath of betrayal and deceit felt like a fitting way to give back and find further healing. We named the foundation New Horizons, symbolizing the fresh starts and new beginnings it aimed to provide. Karen took the lead, using her organizational skills and passion to get it off the ground. We connected with legal experts, therapists, and community leaders to create a comprehensive support system for those in need. Launching New Horizons was a rewarding experience. We met countless individuals whose lives had been upended by betrayal and deceit, and we were able to offer them hope and a path forward. The foundation grew, becoming a beacon of support and resilience in the community. Our personal lives continued to flourish as well. Brian and Emily excelled in their studies and extracurricular activities, making new friends and creating their paths. Karen and I found joy in our shared purpose and the life we had built together. One weekend, as we celebrated the first anniversary of New Horizons, I reflected on the journey that had brought us here. The betrayal that had once threatened to destroy me had instead forged a stronger, more determined version of myself. It had led me to Karen, to a fulfilling career, and to a life dedicated to helping others. As the evening drew to a close, I looked around at the faces of those we had helped and the friends we had made. The pain of the past had given way to a future filled with promise and purpose. I had found my justice, not just in the downfall of those who wronged me, but in the life I had rebuilt from the ashes of betrayal. The storm had passed, leaving behind clear skies and new horizons. As I stood there, surrounded by the people I loved and the lives we had touched, I knew that the journey, with all its twists and turns, had led me exactly where I was meant to be. As time passed, the success of New Horizons brought a sense of fulfillment and peace. The foundation flourished, providing invaluable support to those recovering from betrayal and deceit. Our work gave Karen and me a renewed sense of purpose, and I felt a profound connection to the community we were building. One day, I received an unexpected letter. The return address indicated it was from Jennifer. My initial reaction was to discard it, but curiosity got the better of me. I opened the envelope and began to read. "Dear Michael, I hope this letter finds you well. I have been doing a lot of soul-searching over the past months, and I feel compelled to reach out to you. The choices I made, the pain I caused, they weigh heavily on me every day. I know that I have no right to ask for forgiveness, but I want you to know that I am deeply sorry for everything I did. Seeing the success of New Horizons, I am in awe of how you've turned such a painful experience into something so positive. It's inspiring, and it has made me realize how much I want to make amends, not just with you, but with myself and those I hurt. If you're willing, I would like to meet and talk. There are things I need to say in person, and I hope we can find some closure. With sincere regret, Jennifer. Reading Jennifer's letter stirred a mixture of emotions. The wounds she had inflicted had healed over time, but the scars remained. However, her words seemed genuine, and a part of me wondered if meeting her could provide the final closure I needed. I discussed it with Karen that evening. She listened thoughtfully, her supportive nature shining through. Michael, if you think meeting Jennifer could bring you peace, then you should do it. Just be sure it's what you want. After much contemplation, I decided to meet Jennifer. We arranged to meet at a small cafe in the heart of Amsterdam, a neutral place far from the memories of our past life together. The cafe was cozy and quiet, the perfect setting for a conversation that had been years in the making. When I arrived, Jennifer was already seated, looking nervously around. She seemed different, older, more worn, but also more humble. As I sat down, she gave me a tentative smile. Michael, thank you for agreeing to meet me, she began, her voice trembling slightly. I know I don't deserve your time, but I wanted to tell you in person how truly sorry I am for everything. I nodded, acknowledging her apology, but not yet ready to respond. She continued, recounting her journey since our separation, the mistakes, the regrets, and the lessons she had learned. She spoke about the guilt that plagued her, the opportunities she squandered, and her attempts to rebuild her life. I see the work you're doing with New Horizons, she said, her voice softening. It's incredible, Michael. You've turned your pain into something beautiful. I've started volunteering at a local shelter, trying to give back in some way. It's not much, but it's a start. Hearing her story, I felt a surprising sense of empathy. The anger and bitterness that had fueled my quest for justice had dissipated, replaced by a quiet acceptance. Jennifer's remorse seemed genuine, and while it couldn't undo the past, it was a step toward healing. Jennifer, I finally said, my voice steady, what's done is done. We can't change the past, but we can choose how we move forward. I've found peace and purpose in my life, and I hope you can find yours too. Her eyes filled with tears, and she nodded. Thank you, Michael. That means more than you know. We talked for a while longer, about our children, about life and the future. It wasn't a reconciliation in the traditional sense, but it was a moment of understanding and closure. As we parted ways, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. The chapter with Jennifer had finally come to a close. Returning home, I felt a renewed sense of clarity. Karen welcomed me with a warm embrace, and as I shared the details of the meeting, I realized how far I had come. Jennifer's apology had been important, but the true healing had come from within, from the life I had rebuilt and the love I had found with Karen. Life continued with its ups and downs, but I faced each day with gratitude and hope. New Horizons expanded, helping more people than I ever imagined. Brian and Emily grew into remarkable young adults. Their resilience and kindness are a testament to the strength of our family. One evening, as we all sat together, I reflected on the journey that had brought us here. The betrayal, the pain, the revenge. It had all led to a place of peace and fulfillment. As I looked at the faces of those I loved, I knew that the future held endless possibilities, shaped by the choices we made and the love we shared. The past was behind me, and the future was bright. With Karen by my side, my children thriving, and a purpose that gave my life meaning, I was ready to embrace whatever came next. The storm had passed, and in its wake, I had found a new horizon, filled with hope and endless potential. With the closure from meeting Jennifer, I felt an even stronger resolve to focus on the future. New Horizons continued to grow, and the impact we were having on the lives of those affected by betrayal and deceit was profound. Karen and I poured our hearts into the foundation, creating programs that provided not only immediate support, but also long-term resources for rebuilding lives. Our work at New Horizons brought us into contact with many inspiring individuals. One such person was a woman named Lisa, who had been through a harrowing experience of betrayal and was now rebuilding her life with the help of our foundation. Her resilience and determination were truly inspiring, and she became a close friend and advocate for our mission. Lisa's story reminded me of the importance of what we were doing. She had been in a dark place, but with support and guidance, she had found her way back to the light. Her journey reinforced my belief in the power of community and support in overcoming the darkest of times. In addition to our work with the foundation, Karen and I began to explore other ways to make a difference. We started speaking at events and conferences, sharing our story and the mission of New Horizons. Our goal was to raise awareness and encourage others to support those who had experienced betrayal and deceit. One day, as we were preparing for a major fundraising event, Karen approached me with an idea. "Michael, what if we created a scholarship fund through New Horizons? We could help individuals who've been through similar experiences pursue their education and dreams." The idea was brilliant. Education has always been a cornerstone of rebuilding one's life, and providing scholarships would be a powerful way to support long-term growth and healing. We launched the New Horizons Scholarship Fund, and the response was overwhelming. Donations poured in, and we were able to provide scholarships to several deserving individuals, allowing them to achieve their goals and build a brighter future. Brian and Emily, seeing the work we were doing, became involved as well. They volunteered their time and even started their initiatives to support the Foundation's mission. Brian, with his passion for technology, developed an app to connect individuals with resources and support groups. Emily, with her artistic talent, organized art therapy sessions to help people express and process their emotions. Our family had found a shared purpose, and it brought us closer together. The pain of the past had been transformed into a powerful force for good, and the legacy we were building was something we could all be proud of. One evening, as Karen and I were reviewing applications for the scholarship fund, she looked at me and smiled. "Michael, can you believe how far we've come? From the darkest days to this, helping others and making a real difference. It's incredible." I nodded, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. "It is, Karen, and it's all because we chose to turn our pain into something positive. We didn't let it define us. We used it to build something meaningful." As our work continued to expand, we were approached by a major publishing company with an offer to write a book about our journey and the mission of New Horizons. Initially, I was hesitant. Sharing our story on such a large scale felt daunting, but Karen convinced me it was an opportunity to reach even more people and provide hope to those who needed it most. Writing the book was a cathartic experience. Karen and I spent countless hours recounting our journey, the challenges we faced, and the triumphs we achieved. We included stories from individuals who had been helped by New Horizons, showcasing their resilience and courage. The book, titled New Horizons: Turning Pain into Purpose, became a bestseller and a source of inspiration for many. The success of the book brought even more attention to our cause. We received invitations to speak on television shows, podcasts, and at international conferences. Our message of hope and resilience resonated with people from all walks of life, and the support for New Horizons grew exponentially. One particularly memorable moment was when we were invited to speak at a global summit on mental health and well-being. Standing on the stage, looking out at the audience, I felt an overwhelming sense of pride and fulfillment. We had turned our tragedy into a force for good, and the impact we were making was beyond anything I had ever imagined. As the years passed, New Horizons became a well-established and respected organization. We continued to innovate and expand our programs, always striving to provide the best support possible to those in need. Karen and I remained deeply involved, our passion for the mission undiminished. Our children, now young adults, carried the torch forward. Brian's app evolved into a comprehensive platform used by support groups and organizations worldwide. Emily's art therapy sessions became a cornerstone of our healing programs, helping countless individuals express and process their emotions. Looking back on the journey, I realized that the legacy we were building was not just about the work we did, but about the lives we touched and the hope we inspired. The pain of the past had been transformed into a powerful force for good, and the future was bright with endless possibilities. One evening, as Karen and I sat on our porch, watching the sunset over Amsterdam's canals, I felt a deep sense of peace and contentment. The journey had been long and arduous, but it had led us to a place of fulfillment and purpose. "Karen," I said, taking her hand, "we've built something incredible. New Horizons is more than just a foundation. It's a testament to the power of resilience and the strength of the human spirit. She smiled, her eyes reflecting the warmth of the setting sun. And it's all because we chose to turn our pain into purpose, Michael. We didn't let the past define us. We used it to build a brighter future. As we sat there, I knew that our journey was far from over. There were still many lives to touch, many hearts to heal, and many horizons to explore. And with Karen by my side, I was ready to face whatever challenges and opportunities lay ahead. The storm had passed, and in its wake, we had built a legacy of hope, resilience, and endless possibilities. And for that, I was eternally grateful. Life was moving forward with a sense of purpose and fulfillment. Yet, as often happens, the road to continued success and happiness was not without its obstacles. The challenges that lay ahead tested our resilience in new and unforeseen ways. One crisp autumn morning, I received an urgent call from Brian. "Dad, you need to come to the office. There's been a data breach." My heart sank as I listened to Brian explain the situation. Our foundation's database, which held sensitive information about the people we were helping, had been hacked. The security breach threatened not only our reputation, but also the privacy and safety of those who trusted us. Karen and I rushed to the office, where Brian and his tech team were already working furiously to contain the breach. The atmosphere was tense, filled with the hum of computers and the low murmur of urgent conversations. Brian, usually calm and composed, was visibly stressed. "We're doing everything we can to secure the system," Brian said, looking up from his computer. "But the hackers accessed a significant amount of data. We need to notify everyone and provide support for those affected." As we discussed our response strategy, I felt a mix of anger and determination. Our work at New Horizons was built on trust, and this attack felt deeply personal. We immediately began drafting a statement to inform our community and outline the steps we were taking to address the situation. The following days were a whirlwind of crisis management. We hired cybersecurity experts to fortify our defenses and launched an investigation to identify the perpetrators. We also reached out to every individual whose data had been compromised, offering support and resources to help them protect their information. Despite the challenges, the response from our community was overwhelmingly positive. People understood that we were victims of a malicious act and appreciated our transparency and swift action. It was a testament to the strength and resilience of the network we had built. Amid this crisis, another unexpected challenge arose. Emily, who had been working tirelessly on her art therapy programs, began experiencing severe fatigue and unexplained pain. Concerned, Karen and I took her to several doctors, hoping for answers. After a series of tests, Emily was diagnosed with a rare autoimmune disorder. The news hit us like a ton of bricks. Emily, always vibrant and full of life, now faced a long and uncertain road to recovery. We rallied around her, providing love and support, but the reality of her condition was a heavy burden for all of us. Emily's illness forced us to reevaluate our priorities. Karen and I took a step back from some of our responsibilities at New Horizons to focus on Emily's health and well-being. Brian took on a larger role, demonstrating his leadership and dedication to our mission. Despite the setbacks, Emily remained strong and determined. She continued her work, albeit at a slower pace, and inspired us all with her resilience. Her art therapy sessions became even more meaningful, providing her with an outlet for her emotions and a way to connect with others going through similar struggles. During this challenging time, we received an unexpected offer that provided a glimmer of hope. A renowned medical research institute reached out, offering to enroll Emily in a cutting-edge clinical trial for her condition. The trial showed promising results, and we decided to proceed, hopeful that it could provide the relief she desperately needed. As Emily began her treatment, we faced another hurdle: the financial strain of her medical expenses. Although we had been fortunate in many ways, the costs were substantial. We considered scaling back some of our programs at New Horizons to manage the expenses, but our community surprised us once again. Donations poured in, and fundraising events were organized by volunteers who believed in our mission and wanted to support Emily. Through these trying times, Karen and I leaned on each other more than ever. Our love and partnership grew stronger as we navigated the challenges together. We found solace in our shared determination to support our family and continue the work that had given our lives so much meaning. One evening, As we sat by Emily's bedside in the hospital, I reflected on the journey we had been on. The betrayal and pain of the past had forged a path to something beautiful, but it had also prepared us for the battles we now faced. The resilience we had built was our greatest strength, and it carried us through the darkest moments. Emily's condition slowly improved, thanks to the groundbreaking treatment. She regained her strength and continued to inspire those around her with her unwavering spirit. The data breach, while a significant setback, ultimately strengthened our cybersecurity measures and reinforced the trust of our community. As we emerged from these challenges, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. The obstacles we faced had tested us in ways we never expected, but they had also brought us closer together and reinforced the importance of our mission. New Horizons was not just a foundation. It was a testament to the power of resilience and the strength of the human spirit. Looking forward, I knew there would be more challenges ahead, but I was confident that we could face them together. With Karen, Brian, Emily, and our extended community by my side, I felt ready to embrace whatever the future held. The journey was far from over, but with each step, we continued to build a legacy of hope, strength, and endless possibilities. As life slowly returned to a semblance of normalcy, I found myself reflecting deeply on the future of New Horizons and my family. The recent challenges had tested our limits, but they had also shown us the strength of our resolve and the power of our mission. It was time to think about the long-term vision for our foundation and how we could ensure its sustainability and growth. One evening, Karen and I sat on our porch discussing the future. The air was cool, and the sky was a canvas of stars. "Michael," Karen said, her voice thoughtful, "we've come so far with New Horizons, but we need to think about its legacy. How can we make sure it continues to thrive, even when we're not as involved?" Her words struck a chord. Ensuring the foundation's future was essential, not just for the people we helped, but for the legacy we wanted to leave behind. We decided to assemble a team of trusted advisors and supporters to develop a comprehensive plan for the foundation's growth and sustainability. Our first step was to expand our leadership team. Brian, with his passion and dedication, took on a more prominent role as the Chief Technology Officer, overseeing the development of innovative solutions to support our mission. We also brought in Lisa, whose journey with New Horizons had inspired us all, to serve as the Director of Community Engagement. Her first-hand experience and deep understanding of our mission made her an invaluable addition to the team. Emily, despite her health challenges, continued to contribute through her art therapy programs. Her determination and creativity inspired us to explore new ways to integrate art and healing into our services. We hired additional staff and volunteers to support her efforts, ensuring that her vision for the program could reach more people in need. With our new leadership team in place, we began to focus on strategic partnerships and fundraising. We reached out to corporations, philanthropists, and government agencies, sharing our story and the impact of our work. The response was overwhelmingly positive, and we secured several significant grants and donations that provided the financial stability we needed to expand our programs. One day, while reviewing the Foundation's progress, I received an email from an old friend, Alex, who had moved to the United States years ago. He had been following our work and was deeply impressed by what we had achieved. Alex was now a successful entrepreneur and philanthropist, and he had a proposal that could change everything. "Michael," the email read, "I've been inspired by the incredible work you and Karen have done with New Horizons. I believe there is an opportunity to expand your mission globally, starting with a branch in the United States. I would love to discuss how we can make this happen." The idea of expanding New Horizons internationally was both exciting and daunting. It would require significant resources and careful planning, but the potential to help more people on a global scale was a compelling vision. Karen and I discussed the proposal with our team, and we all agreed that it was a chance worth exploring. We arranged a video call with Alex to discuss the details. He was enthusiastic and committed, offering to provide the initial funding and support needed to establish the U.S. branch. His vision aligned perfectly with ours, and his experience in philanthropy and business would be invaluable. After several months of planning and negotiations, we launched New Horizons USA. The new branch was headquartered in New York City, a vibrant hub that provided access to diverse communities and resources. We appointed a dynamic and experienced team to lead the expansion, ensuring that the values and mission of New Horizons remained at the core of our operations. The launch of New Horizons USA was a resounding success. We held a grand opening event, attended by supporters, partners, and beneficiaries. The excitement and enthusiasm were palpable, and it was clear that our mission resonated deeply with people far beyond our initial reach. As the foundation expanded, so did our impact. We developed new programs tailored to the unique needs of different communities, leveraging technology and innovation to provide accessible and effective support. Our international presence allowed us to share best practices and collaborate with organizations worldwide, amplifying our efforts and learning from others. Despite the demands of the expansion, I made sure to balance my responsibilities with quality time for my family. Karen, Brian, Emily, and I continued to support each other, finding joy in our shared mission and the life we had built together. Our home remained a sanctuary, filled with love, laughter, and the occasional chaos of everyday life. One evening, as we celebrated the first anniversary of New Horizons USA, I reflected on the incredible journey we had undertaken. The pain and betrayal of the past had been transformed into a powerful force for good, and our vision had grown beyond anything I had ever imagined. Karen raised her glass in a toast. To New Horizons, and to the countless lives we've touched and will continue to touch. Here's to the future and the legacy we're building together. We clinked glasses, surrounded by friends, family, and supporters. The journey had been long and challenging, but it had led us to a place of fulfillment and purpose. With each step forward, we continued to build a legacy of hope, resilience, and endless possibilities. As I looked around the room, I knew that the future held even more promise. The challenges we faced strengthened our resolve and deepened our commitment to our mission. Together, we would continue to forge new horizons, creating a lasting impact for generations to come. The global expansion of New Horizons was a dream come true, but it also came with new challenges and responsibilities. Amidst the bustling activity and continuous growth, Karen and I found ourselves reflecting on our journey and the milestones we had yet to achieve. One particular milestone had been on our minds for a while: our marriage. One quiet evening, as we sat together on the porch of our Amsterdam home, Karen brought up a topic that had been at the back of our minds for some time. "Michael, we've built an incredible life together, and we've overcome so much. Maybe it's time to make our commitment official?" Her words warmed my heart. Despite the years we had spent together, the bond we shared, and the challenges we had faced, we had never formally tied the knot. The idea of a wedding felt both exciting and profound, a way to celebrate our love and the life we had built together. "Karen," I said, taking her hand, "I can't think of anything more perfect. Let's do it." Planning a wedding while managing a global foundation was no small feat, but we approached it with the same passion and dedication that had driven our other endeavors. We decided on a small, intimate ceremony, surrounded by close friends and family, choosing a beautiful venue in the countryside just outside Amsterdam. Brian and Emily were thrilled at the news. They eagerly offered to help with the preparations, and their excitement was contagious. Emily, with her artistic talent, took charge of designing the invitations and decorations. Brian, with his organizational skills, managed the logistics and ensured everything ran smoothly. As the day of the wedding approached, Karen and I reflected on the journey that had brought us to this moment. From the depths of betrayal and pain, we had risen together, building a life filled with purpose and love. Our wedding was not just a celebration of our love, but also a testament to our resilience and the incredible strength of our bond. The morning of our wedding dawned bright and clear. The venue was a picturesque estate with lush gardens, elegant architecture, and a serene lake. As guests began to arrive, the air was filled with laughter, joy, and a sense of anticipation. Karen looked stunning in a simple yet elegant dress, her smile radiating happiness. I felt a surge of emotion as I stood at the altar, watching her walk towards me. Brian and Emily stood by our sides, their faces beaming with pride and love. The ceremony was beautiful and heartfelt. We exchanged vows that spoke of our journey, our love, and our commitment to each other. As we promised to stand by each other through thick and thin, I felt a deep sense of gratitude for the woman who had transformed my life. When the officiant pronounced us husband and wife, Applause and cheers erupted from our friends and family. Karen and I shared a kiss, sealing our commitment in front of the people who mattered most to us. It was a moment of pure joy, a milestone that marked the beginning of a new chapter in our lives. The reception that followed was filled with laughter, dancing, and heartfelt toasts. Brian and Emily each gave speeches that brought tears to our eyes, expressing their love and admiration for the journey we had undertaken. Our friends and colleagues from New Horizons shared stories and memories, celebrating the impact we had made together. As the evening drew to a close, Karen and I took a moment to step away from the festivities and walk by the lake. The moonlight reflected off the water, casting a serene glow over the scene. We held hands, reflecting on the day and the incredible journey that had led us here. "Karen," I said softly, "today has been perfect. I'm so grateful for everything we've built together." She smiled, leaning her head on my shoulder. "Me too, Michael. This is just the beginning. There's so much more to come, and I can't wait to face it all with you." At that moment, I felt a profound sense of peace and contentment. Our wedding was not just a celebration of our love, but also a symbol of our resilience and the strength of our bond. It was a reminder that, no matter what challenges we faced, we would always have each other. As we returned to the reception, surrounded by the love and support of our friends and family, I knew that the future held endless possibilities. With Karen by my side, I felt ready to embrace whatever came next, confident that together we could overcome any obstacle and achieve any dream. The journey ahead was filled with promise, and as we celebrated our wedding day, I looked forward to building a future filled with love, hope, and endless horizons. Our wedding had been a beautiful milestone, marking the culmination of a journey filled with both trials and triumphs. As Karen and I settled into married life, we continued to pour our hearts into new horizons, pushing forward with our mission and embracing the challenges and opportunities that came our way. One sunny afternoon, as Karen and I were reviewing plans for a new initiative at New Horizons, my phone buzzed with a message from Brian. His message was brief but urgent. "Dad, we need to talk. It's important." I called him immediately, concern growing with each unanswered ring. Finally, he picked up, his voice tense and filled with worry. "Dad, I've discovered something troubling. I think there's been some financial misconduct within New Horizons." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Financial misconduct? In our foundation? The very thought seemed inconceivable. Karen, sensing the gravity of the situation, looked at me with concern as I relayed the news. "Brian, tell me everything," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Brian explained that while conducting a routine audit, he had noticed discrepancies in the financial records. Large sums of money were missing, and several transactions appeared suspicious. He had double-checked the figures and consulted with a trusted colleague, but the evidence pointed to embezzlement. I felt a mixture of disbelief and anger. How could this happen under our watch? Karen and I had always prided ourselves on maintaining transparency and integrity in everything we did. The thought that someone could betray our trust and jeopardize the mission of New Horizons was infuriating. "Brian, I want you to gather all the evidence and bring it to my office," I said firmly. "We'll get to the bottom of this." Karen and I immediately convened an emergency meeting with our senior leadership team. Brian presented his findings, and the room fell silent as the gravity of the situation sank in. We had built New Horizons on the foundation of trust and compassion, and this betrayal threatened to undermine everything we had worked for. We decided to hire a forensic accountant to conduct a thorough investigation. In the meantime, we increased our oversight of financial transactions and implemented additional security measures to prevent further misconduct. The investigation was exhaustive, involving countless hours of reviewing records, interviewing staff, and tracing the flow of funds. As the investigation progressed, it became clear that the embezzlement had been going on for some time. The culprit was a senior staff member, someone we had trusted implicitly. The betrayal felt deeply personal, but we knew that we had to focus on resolving the situation and protecting the foundation. We took immediate action, terminating the employee and pursuing legal measures to recover the stolen funds. The news of the embezzlement sent shockwaves through our organization and community. Supporters and beneficiaries expressed their concern and disappointment, but they also rallied around us, offering their support and encouragement. The scandal was a significant setback, but it also galvanized our resolve to continue our mission with even greater determination. We worked tirelessly to restore trust and ensure that New Horizons emerged from this crisis stronger than ever. We held meetings with our donors, providing full transparency and outlining the steps we were taking to prevent future misconduct. Amid this turmoil, we received an unexpected visit from Lisa, our Director of Community Engagement. She had been a pillar of strength throughout the investigation, and her dedication to our mission never wavered. "Michael, Karen," she began, "I know this has been an incredibly challenging time for all of us, but I believe we can turn this crisis into an opportunity. Let's use this experience to strengthen our governance and transparency, setting a new standard for nonprofit organizations." Her words resonated deeply with us. We had faced adversity before, and each time we had emerged stronger. This would be no different. We decided to launch a new initiative within New Horizons, focusing on ethical governance and transparency. We developed training programs for our staff and volunteers, emphasizing the importance of integrity and accountability in every aspect of our work. As we implemented these changes, the support from our community grew even stronger. Donations increased, and new partnerships were formed with organizations that admired our commitment to transparency and ethical conduct. The crisis had tested us, but it had also brought us closer together and reinforced our dedication to our mission. Through it all, Karen and I leaned on each other, finding strength in our partnership and the love we shared. Our family, including Brian and Emily, played a crucial role in helping us navigate this challenging time. Their support and resilience were a constant source of inspiration. Months later, as we stood on the stage at a New Horizons event, I looked out at the audience filled with friends, supporters, and beneficiaries. The embezzlement scandal had been a dark chapter, but it had also been a turning point. We had emerged stronger, more committed, and more determined to make a difference. "Thank you all for being here and for your unwavering support," I began. "We've faced challenges, but we've also achieved incredible things together. New Horizons is not just an organization, it's a community built on trust, resilience, and the shared belief that we can create a better future." The applause that followed was a testament to the strength of our community and the impact of our work. As Karen and I stood hand in hand, I felt a renewed sense of purpose and optimism. The journey had been filled with unexpected turns, but each challenge had only strengthened our resolve. The future was bright, and with the lessons we had learned, I knew that New Horizons would continue to grow and thrive. Together, we would face whatever challenges lay ahead, confident in our ability to overcome them and build a legacy of hope, resilience, and endless possibilities. With the embezzlement crisis behind us and New Horizons stronger than ever, life began to settle into a new rhythm. The foundation had emerged from the ordeal with a renewed sense of purpose and a solid framework for ethical governance and transparency. Karen, Brian, Emily, and I were more united than ever, and our work continued to flourish. One sunny afternoon, as I was reviewing some reports in my office, Karen walked in with a thoughtful expression on her face. "Michael, I've been thinking about our future and how we can continue to grow New Horizons. We've accomplished so much here, but what if we started to look even further ahead?" Her words piqued my interest. "What do you have in mind?" Karen took a seat and began to outline her vision. "We've built a solid foundation here in Amsterdam and expanded to the United States, but there are so many other places where our work could make a difference. What if we considered opening branches in other parts of the world? Europe, Asia, Africa. Countless communities could benefit from our programs." The idea was both ambitious and exciting. Expanding New Horizons on a global scale would allow us to reach even more people in need, but it would also require careful planning and significant resources. "Karen, I think it's a brilliant idea," I said, feeling a surge of excitement. "But we need to make sure we have the right strategy and support in place. Let's start by researching to identify the regions where our impact would be most significant and where we have the potential to establish strong partnerships." We spent the next several months working with our team to develop a comprehensive plan for global expansion. We conducted market research, identified potential partner organizations, and reached out to international experts in the nonprofit sector. Our goal was to create a sustainable and effective model that could be replicated in different regions around the world. As we delved deeper into the planning process, we decided to start with pilot programs in 3 diverse locations: South Africa, India, and Germany. Each location presented unique challenges and opportunities, and we believed that these pilots would provide valuable insights for future expansions. In South Africa, we partnered with local organizations to address the needs of communities affected by poverty and unemployment. Our programs focused on providing vocational training, mental health support, and educational resources. The response from the community was overwhelmingly positive, and we quickly saw the impact of our work. In India, we collaborated with grassroots organizations to support women and children in rural areas. Our initiatives included microfinance programs, health education, and workshops on entrepreneurship. The enthusiasm and resilience of the women we worked with were inspiring, and the success of the pilot program exceeded our expectations. In Germany, we focused on integrating refugees and immigrants into society. We offered language classes, job placement services, and cultural orientation programs. The feedback from participants and local authorities was encouraging, and we began to see the positive effects of our efforts on community cohesion. As the pilot programs progressed, we gathered data and feedback to refine our approach and ensure the sustainability of our initiatives. The success of these programs reinforced our belief in the potential for global expansion, and we began to lay the groundwork for opening permanent branches in these regions. During this time, our family also faced significant personal milestones. Brian graduated with honors from university, having balanced his studies with his work at New Horizons. His dedication and passion for technology and social impact were evident, and he expressed a desire to continue working with the foundation, focusing on expanding our digital initiatives. Emily, despite her health challenges, had made remarkable progress thanks to her treatment. She completed her studies in art therapy and officially joined New Horizons as the head of our art therapy programs. Her creativity and empathy were invaluable assets, and her journey inspired many of our beneficiaries. One evening, as we sat together as a family, discussing our plans, I felt a deep sense of gratitude and pride. "We've come so far, and we've achieved so much together," I said. "I'm excited about the future and all the possibilities it holds." Karen smiled, her eyes filled with warmth. "It's been an incredible journey, and it's only just beginning. There's so much more we can do, and I'm grateful we get to do it together." As we continued to expand New Horizons globally, we also focused on fostering a strong sense of community and connection among our teams and beneficiaries. We held annual retreats and conferences, bringing together staff and volunteers from different regions to share experiences, learn from each other, and celebrate our collective achievements. One particularly memorable retreat was held in the picturesque countryside of Tuscany, Italy. The serene setting provided the perfect backdrop for reflection and inspiration. We organized workshops, team-building activities, and cultural excursions, creating an environment where everyone felt valued and motivated. During one of the evening gatherings, as we sat around a bonfire under the starry sky, I took a moment to address the group. New Horizons has always been about more than just the programs we offer. It's about the people, the lives we touch, the stories we share, and the hope we inspire. Each of you plays a crucial role in this journey, and together, we're making a difference that will be felt for generations to come. The applause that followed was heartfelt and genuine, a testament to the shared sense of purpose and commitment that bound us all together. As I looked around at the faces illuminated by the firelight, I knew that our journey was far from over. The challenges we had faced had only strengthened our resolve, and the future was filled with endless possibilities. With Karen, Brian, Emily, and our incredible team by my side, I was confident that we could continue to expand our impact and build a legacy of hope, resilience, and positive change. The journey ahead was filled with promise, and as we embraced the opportunities and challenges that lay before us, I knew that together we could achieve anything. The world was full of new horizons, and we were ready to explore them all. As the years passed, the global expansion of New Horizons brought more success stories and challenges than we had ever imagined. Our foundation had grown from a small local organization into a worldwide movement, touching lives across continents. The impact of our work was profound, and the legacy we were building was something I took immense pride in. One morning, as I sat in my study reflecting on the journey, I received a call from an old friend, Alex. He was the one who had originally inspired our expansion into the United States, and we have remained close collaborators ever since. Michael, how are you? Alex's voice was warm and familiar. I'm good, Alex. How about you? I replied, genuinely curious about what had prompted his call. I'm great, thanks. Listen, I've been thinking a lot about New Horizons and what you've achieved. Have you ever considered documenting your journey? Writing a book, perhaps? The idea caught me off guard. We had shared our story in various ways over the years, through speeches, interviews, and our website, but the thought of compiling it all into a book had never crossed my mind. I don't know, Alex. It's a big undertaking, I said, feeling both intrigued and overwhelmed by the prospect. I understand, but think about it. Your story, Karen's, Brian's, and Emily's, it's all so inspiring. It could be a powerful tool to motivate others and to secure the legacy of New Horizons for future generations. His words resonated with me. Documenting our journey could indeed be a way to inspire others and ensure that the principles and values we had built New Horizons on would continue to guide the foundation long after we were gone. I discussed the idea with Karen that evening. She was immediately supportive. Michael, it's a wonderful idea. We've been through so much, and our story could help so many others. Plus, it's a chance to reflect on everything we've accomplished. With Karen's encouragement, I began the process of writing our story. It was a daunting task, but also a deeply rewarding one. I spent hours in my study, sifting through old journals, emails, and photographs, reliving the moments that had defined our journey. Brian and Emily were invaluable in this process. Brian helped organize the material, using his tech skills to digitize old documents and create a timeline of our milestones. Emily, with her artistic touch, designed the layout and selected photographs that captured the essence of our journey. As I wrote, I found myself reflecting not just on the successes, but also on the challenges and setbacks we had faced. The betrayal that had shattered my old life, the struggles of rebuilding, the embezzlement crisis, and the health challenges we had faced as a family. All of these experiences had shaped who we were and had made our achievements all the more meaningful. One chapter of the book was dedicated to the people who had been with us every step of the way. John, the private investigator who had helped uncover the truth during the darkest days. Lisa, whose strength and resilience had been a cornerstone of our community. Alex, whose vision had sparked our global expansion, and countless others who had believed in our mission and had given their all to support it. Another chapter focused on the stories of those we had helped through New Horizons. These were the real heroes of our journey, individuals who had faced incredible hardships and had found hope and strength through our programs. Their stories were a testament to the power of community and the human spirit. As the book neared completion, we decided to hold a special event to celebrate its launch. We invited friends, family supporters, and beneficiaries from around the world. The event was held in Amsterdam, the city where it all began, and it was a night filled with emotion and celebration. During the event, I took the stage to share some reflections. This book is more than just a story of our journey. It's a testament to the power of resilience, the strength of community, and the endless possibilities that arise when we turn our pain into purpose. It's a celebration of every person who has been part of New Horizons and who continues to inspire us every day. As I spoke, I looked out at the faces in the audience. Karen, Brian, Emily, our friends and supporters. I felt a deep sense of gratitude for the journey we had been on and for the incredible community that had grown around us. The launch of the book was a resounding success. It was well received by readers around the world, and the feedback we received was overwhelmingly positive. People were inspired by our story and by the message of hope and resilience that it conveyed. With the book published, we turned our attention back to the future of New Horizons. We continued to expand our programs, innovate new solutions, and build partnerships that would ensure the sustainability and growth of our foundation. Our mission remained as vital as ever, and we were committed to making a difference in the lives of as many people as possible. As I looked forward, I knew that the legacy we were building was about more than just the work we did. It was about the values and principles that guided us, the community we had built, and the stories of hope and resilience that defined our journey. One evening, as Karen and I sat on our porch reflecting on the past and dreaming about the future, I felt a profound sense of peace. We had faced incredible challenges, but we had also achieved extraordinary things. And with each new horizon we explored, we knew that the journey was far from over. The world was full of possibilities, and as long as we had each other and the incredible community of New Horizons by our side, we were ready to face whatever came next. The legacy we were building was one of hope, resilience, and endless potential, and it was a legacy that would continue to inspire and uplift for generations to come.